All right, so now we're going to talk sex a bit more and your experience of sex on your world. And we're going to take you into some short-term history, and then we're going to give you some long-term history, and then we're going to look ahead, and then we're going to take some questions. All right, so back sometime around 2010, 2011, within that window of time, those couple of years there, a lot of you began to do some really wonderful work in detangling yourselves energetically from all of the other beings you were interacting with in this incarnation. Primarily, you did that work with those beings you were having sexual and romantic relationships with. So a number of things have occurred since then. For some of you, you're finding yourselves really disinterested in having sex at all as a part of that detangling experience and process. Because as you disentangled in this way, and as you stepped back from one another physically, energetically, and really looked at yourselves, you realized that that third dimensional sexual operating system that you were running was outdated. Now, a lot of you didn't consciously realize this, of course, and this is still ongoing. There's still a lot of you that we're connecting with right now that are very disinterested in having sex in kind of the old third dimensional model, whether you're partnered or not. All right, so know that if you are sitting in a relationship or sitting just with yourself in relationship and not desiring sex, meaning not doing anything about it, not trying to go out and find a sexual partner, because the truth is when you all really desire it, when you really give yourselves permission to have sex, it's very easy for you to find somebody to align with and have that experience with, no matter what stories you're telling yourself, no matter what programs you're running. The truth is it's pretty easy for you all to do that. So if you're not doing that, if you're not giving yourself the partner or the experience with the partner you currently have, it's because you're really not wanting to run any longer what feels to you like an outdated sexual experience. Okay, so that's some recent history here. Now we're going to give you much more ancient history to help you better understand a distortion you've all been running in your energetic bodies and your physical experience of sex here for eons, so you can clear that distortion now in your belief system. All right, so we worked on, and you all worked on clearing it energetically there in the deactivations that occurred. Now we want to help your mental bodies catch up. So your mental bodies can say, oh, I see, that's the story that I can assign. And of course, we'll give you our version of events. We'll give you our story. There are many different stories you can assign to this experience, your experience. This is simply our take on all of it. So there was an original being, earthling, created on your world to go along with the experiment of the living library. And that original being had 12 strands of DNA. That original being was a full-on creator being. Sex itself during that period of time was simply another way to access another being's records. That's it. So you would sync up and align energetically and physically with one another, and you would share information in that way. And it was a very conscious experience. You didn't have to do it physically. Sometimes you would do it physically because there was a particular physical enjoyment in the experience. But it certainly wasn't the be-all and end-all that you often make it out to be on your world today, or the way it's been made out for all of you on your world for eons now. It wasn't that. And it also was never something to feel any kind of shame around. Yeah, take a breath, all of you here. Because the shame programs have really done a number on all of you. They've gone a long way in distorting your understanding of yourselves as the universal beings of love and light that you are. So shame is also something that you use to deny another being from accessing your records, all right? So when you run a shame program, you put an aspect of yourself in darkness and you make that aspect of yourself unavailable to the other being you're interacting with. Take a breath, all of you. A lot of you right now are having reflections on that piece. You're looking at, oh my goodness, look at how that is. Look at how when I have that feeling of shame about myself, either sexually or for any other reason, I want to hide that aspect of myself. And as I hide and shroud that aspect of me, I hide that. I run the illusion of hiding it from myself. I encrypt that aspect of myself. I fragment it out. I disable myself from being able to share fully with the being that I'm connecting with in my relationship, whether that relationship be a sexual one or not. Because, of course, there are many ways that you all can access records, each other's records. Sex is just one of a myriad of ways that you can experience one another on your world. Like we said, it really is not the be-all and end-all that you've made it out to be. But the reason you experience it that way is because when you were disabled, when your systems were taken apart, the original human was broken down, and you were reconstructed as the third dimensional version of yourselves with the two-stranded double helix DNA system, the other strands of DNA floating throughout your body, disabled in this way. Suddenly, sex became incredibly important to you all for two reasons. One, because you believed then that was the only way you could operate as a creator being, all right? So procreation came into play at that point when your systems were changed, when you were altered physically. And two, because it served to remind you the act of sex and the experience of orgasm, of who it is you really are. Universal being of love and light, source energy, expressing itself, able to interact with and access the records of all of the beings you come in contact with, all right? Sex is the thing you had left there that could help you do that. And it also is the thing that those who were holding a particular level of power wanted to keep you from. All right, it was like, don't have sex, don't do it for fun or pleasure or play or connection, because that's going to give you too much power. That's going to remind you of who it is you really are. So then all these shame programs were invented and began to run and began to distort your perceptions and your beliefs about sex and what it's for, and ideas about monogamy and relationships, and a projection onto sex that it was this highly sacred act that should only happen under a particular set of circumstances, and you all began to run all this fear as well. All right, take a breath, all of you. So you're clearing all that out now. It's not working for you any longer as a collective species, none of it. And you can easily see how those who are coming in now in the newer generations, they're not coming in as distorted sexually as many of you all are. And that's because they're coming in at a higher vibratory rate, all right? They're coming in where the planet itself and collective humanity is holding a higher vibratory rate. So their frequency is different around it already. And they're also more aware of who they really are as universal beings of love and light. So they don't align as much with their particular gender. They don't align as much with the illusion of a particular kind of sexual operating system, whether that be heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, etc. They don't align as much with any of that. And the truth is, none of you are any one of those things either. You are all universal beings of love and light who run both male and female energy through your bodies and have the ability to link up with any other universal being of light and connect in a very intimate way, running your sexual energy, whether there's a penis or a vagina involved or not. All right, so think about it from that perspective, because this is the shift that's already happening on your world, and this is what's very exciting for us to witness. You are beginning to discard the purely physical process of sex. You're beginning to put that aside somewhat because you're realizing it's not the be-all and end-all. It's an enslaving piece if you run it as the be-all and end-all. And you're instead really beginning to share records, connect with those around you, and interact with other beings in this energetic way that feels like sometimes the in love-like feeling feels like. And in fact, we recommend you allow yourselves to be in love with as many beings as you possibly can be right now without attaching expectations around relationship, sex, physical encounters, any of it. Feel how freeing that is in your bodies to connect up in this way, to allow yourselves the in-love experience where you're really opening your heart and all of your records in your lower chakras, where you let yourselves hold that vibratory rate with as many beings as you can in the same moment. All right, so that's another change that's happening for all of you right now, because it used to be you would tell yourselves, oh, I can only really be in love with one being at a time because I should be monogamous. So that's the only way to be monogamous, because when you're in love, there's an expectation around sex. There always is. There always has been, all right? That's that third dimensional programming, because you want their records, right? I'm in love. I want their records. Therefore, I want to have that sexual experience with them so I can connect and we can share our records with one another and perhaps operate as more powerful versions of ourselves, because that's also what occurs when you share your records in this way. One being's records interact with the other. There's a meshing that occurs and your energetic fields are magnified. Take a breath, all of you. All right, you used to think the only way you could do that was through sex because you were programmed to believe that as well. So now you're discarding all of that. Now you get to expand energetically